My 11th Circle presents Crick Buzz Live. It's all been about the weather across the length and breadth of India. The teams landed up in Delhi and there was haze. They played through it. They've landed up in Rajkot. There was all talk of a cyclone, but somebody used their influence upstairs and has made the cyclone vanish. So we're all set for a good 40 overs of cricket, maybe less if the team chasing can finish things off. But it's set up beautifully with Bangladesh winning the first, a historic game for their first ever T20 international victory against India. And now it's up to India to keep the series alive, going ahead to Nagpur in a few days' time. And that's what we're going to discuss here in the studio with our usual suspects, Joy Bhattacharya and Zahir Khan. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The first good news is the weather has stayed away, so we're going to have some cricket. And of course, the other good news that India have finally won a toss and they'll do what they wanted to do.
Well, the first news is very good that the weather is holding up, and the cyclone, as far as weather is concerned, is out of the way. But I think cyclone in terms of pressure on the Indian team getting into this game is still there, and that Bangladesh cyclone, which India will have to deal with for sure, and it's not a bad thing. You know, so sometimes you need this kind of pressure also to bring out the best in you and your A game. So that's something which we are expecting from this Indian team today for sure.
So Bangladesh, I mean, if you look at it historically, are used to more cyclones in their part of the world, but are they used to this kind of pressure? Because they're always used to playing from behind, no expectation, they win, everyone praises them. Suddenly, now they're expected to win, at least back home.
True. But you look at it the other way also. The Indians, they'll think that if we go and beat Bangladesh today, people say, okay, you beat Bangladesh. Come on, you expected to beat Bangladesh. So they will not gain substantially from it. Bangladesh will say that, look, even if we lose this one, we have one more to go. But if we knock them over and it's 2-0, they'll be hell to pay in India. So I feel genuinely the Indians are under slight bit more pressure, definitely under more pressure than Bangladesh, because nobody expects, if it was Australia and you're 1-0 down against Australia, it's okay, it happens. But we've never lost to Bangladesh in this kind of series, 8-0 till the last match. And that's what I feel the pressure will be more in India. Rohit's a smart man. In the dressing room, he'll underplay it hugely and he'll just say, hey, come on, it's just one match.
Just like he was going to underplay the fact, knowing him, that he's playing his 100th T20 international.
Wasn't mentioned. I was so surprised that it was not mentioned up front.
Yes, and I think he must have just had a word. He probably had a word to say that, listen, let's not talk about that. It's an individual record. But hey, Rohit, we're not listening. We are going to talk about it. Because we like to celebrate it. And I think it's something worth celebrating. Only the second Indian and the first male Indian to get to 100 T20 internationals. And I think that is certainly, it just shows that, it's a format that he's been playing a lot of. He might have been called initially the king of the ODI format with those double hundreds. But I think now we can give him this title.
I mean, this is a spectacular record, and he's always has been like that. He's been the most devastating T20 player. I mean, people talk about Gale and the kind of things he's done, but the kind of things Rohit Sharma does, because one of the things is that Rohit Sharma, I've seen him in the Eden Gardens where everyone else is struggling to put bat to ball, even his own team, and he goes and scores a flawless century when everyone else can't time the ball. And that's one gift he has, which is just out of the world, because timing is so important in this format of the game, and he's just an incredible player. Also, when you see wines, they say that, 1858 was a good year for a Rothschild, or champagnes in 1952 were very good. What do you say about Rohit Sharma 2019? What a year.
Yeah, just so we didn't want to quite get into that discussion before I got Zahir involved. We're not talking wines, we're talking Rohit Sharma. We're not talking about him becoming better with age. It's just about that vintage, that particular vintage. And I think, you've seen him at close quarters. It's really something about the man that, as you say, a Chris Gale is flamboyant. He comes out there, you expect him to do certain things. Yeah. Rohit does it, and you somehow don't notice it, but he's done it.
Yeah, he makes it look easy for sure, I think. That's the way it has been. He makes batting look very effortless. And that's been his strength, and that's something which comes naturally. I think what he has really worked upon is converting those big hundreds, like those good starts into big hundreds, has been the hallmark of his career so far. I think he has proved it time and again that once he's in, any batsman can get out early, but once you are in, you have to make it count. And very few batsmen in the world who consistently have been able to do that, even the best of the batsmen. And the numbers truly suggest that. Like you look at his double hundreds as well. How many double hundreds he has got in ODI format? 4, I think, and in
yeah.
T20s as well. It's not a easy place for a batsman to score hundreds, and he has managed to do it on 4 occasions, which is, I think, in 100 games, so 25 games he's converting 100, which is a staggering number.
Yeah, 3, but still, I mean, it's still a phenomenal number. And just to say that, if you had made a list before anyone had made an ODI double 100 as to who could be on a list of potential players, certainly you would have the Virendra Sehwags and the Sachin and the Chris Gayle, but Rohit Sharma would never have been there until he made his first one.
No, absolutely. And I think very interesting, a Bengal player of his same vintage as him who's also played for India, he was talking one day about Rohit because, the best way to learn about players is other batsmen. And he said from the first time, so I said, did you know he's going to be so good, coming on to 2011-12? He said, let me tell you one thing, players who played with him, we were in Bengal, there's this thing called Ghosha Maja, that means you polish and rub and you get something right. He said, Ghoshe Meje, after doing all that, we were 50% of what Rohit was raw. So they said we always knew it. It was just a question of, as everyone said, this was the potential. Yeah. Now he's converting that potential.
Is it something you saw as well?
Yeah, I mean the first game which I played, I clearly remember 2006. I think it was after my county stint. I came back and I was playing some domestic matches before we went to South Africa. The team was supposed to go to South Africa, and we played a domestic game where Rohit Sharma batted. Didn't get too many runs, but you could just look at him and know that okay, this guy is going to make some a huge mark at the international level. And then it was just a matter of time, just about getting the right break. He got selected in 2007 England tour. I think that was his first trip, and didn't get the opportunity. But after that, followed it with T20 World Cup, where he had a decent success, and yeah, from then on he has not looked back. Yes, there has been up and down in terms of starting his career off, and with this Indian team and especially the kind of might we have when it comes to batting order, you always have to wait for your opportunity and fight your way up. So that's been the journey of his, but he grabbed any opportunity which has come along, and once he secured that opening spot, I think since then it has been a tremendous journey.
Certainly has. Since Saeed Khan mentioned the journey, why not hear about the journey from the journeyman himself, in this case, Rohit Sharma?
It's been a long journey since 2007 when I made my debut in the World Cup, T20 World Cup, and till date, it's been a long journey, which has had a lot of ups and a lot of downs as well. I've learned so many things in this 12 years that I've played this format particularly. So, like I said, there has been ups and downs, which has only taught me so many lessons going forward. And today I stand here, or sit here rather, I would say, with heads on my shoulder, because when you come into the team as a young player, you're only trying to learn things, and which happened quite smoothly at the start, and then with few ups and with few downs, through the career, I've become a stronger player. Understood my game really well. What situation of the game demands what sort of attitude and things like that. And there are so many things I can talk about.
Yes, there's so many things we can talk about, and we've talked about a few of them, but he said head on his shoulders, but I think we'll have to add something to that and say he's head and shoulders above the rest. And if you have to really look at years, we often talk about either 98 for Sachin, and many years you can attribute to different people, 2002, 3 for Rahul Dravid. Would you go so far as to say 2019 we can give to Rohit Sharma, what he's done this year?
Absolutely. Look, there are only 2 contenders this year for sort of player of the year, as you said. And one of them is Rohit Sharma, the other has to be Steve Smith. I mean, the way Steve Smith has played the Ashes is just incredible. But what is more impressive about Rohit Sharma is what he's done in tests as well. I mean, we always knew he's going to be this devastating one-day player. Definitely. He knows that as a T20 captain, as a Mumbai captain, he's been fantastic. As, the Cricket World Cup has been superb. 648 runs is not a joke. 5 centuries, ridiculous. But more than that, Test match as well, that is the unexpected cherry on the cake which you do not expect out of him.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of course, the blue jersey, be it the blue of India or the blue that you're very familiar with in more recent times. But yes, there it is. That I think that if you give Rohit a choice, like we've talked about with Virat Kohli, he would say that yes, I've done all this, but I think it's this that he'll had a little twinkle in his eye with all his test
Well,
achievements.
I think that has been playing on his mind. You know, he was really keen on wearing those that white jersey, and that for any cricket, I think, you know, it's the epitome of playing cricket, right? So you want to be there and prove yourself at the highest level, and he certainly is a good enough player to make some mark there as well. It's just in terms of opportunities, and the stack up of the 11 was not working out, but he has shown that keenness of adapting and adjusting. So having opened in the shorter format of the game has certainly helped him or gave him confidence that, okay, if that spot is up for grabs, let me just make sure that I grab it, and that's something which was seen also in terms of his determination, in terms of his will to grab that spot and make a mark. I think it has been a phenomenal year for him. You know, he's really been motivated, charged up, and at a stage in his career, you know, where he wants to really make everything count, and he's going through this lovely phase also, you know, where he's got a nice switch off in terms of his family to fall back onto. Has a lovely daughter which he loves spending time with. So yeah, I think, you know, all those kind of things also really help you be in that good zone, you know, that peak performance zone. So I think, yeah, from India's point of view, you want him to be there and stay in this zone, and we've seen it with Virat as well, that, you know, in terms of year after year he has been raising the bar. So it's a good kind of a counterpart also to have, you know, so who you can emulate and follow his path as well in terms of replicating performances year by year.
I think that sets up the occasion beautifully.
No, absolutely. And the other thing I was thinking about is, you know, if you see great years for players, you know, they say Victor Trumpet in 1902, you know, he scored 2,000 runs on a surface in a England series, in a series where nobody scored 1,000 runs. You know, he was that kind of batsman. 76 Viv Richards, okay, 98 Sachin maybe, 2006 Yusuf Yohana. But the interesting thing is, most of them have done it in one format. Of course, in Trumpet's time or Viv Richards' time, there was not that much ODI cricket at all, so it's mainly Test cricket. But if you see Sachin's 98 was a big year, but mostly in terms of ODIs.
ODIs, yeah.
You know, similarly, 2006, you know, Yusuf Yohana is much more in terms of just centuries, Test centuries. He got 9 Test centuries. To do, you know, play World Cup that well, to get that many centuries after, you know, getting a chance as a Test batsman, also the IPL, it's across formats that the amount that he's delivered this year. I think, you know, if you look back in the history of the game, very few have delivered that much in 3 formats.
Yeah, I think that really sums it. That really sums it up. We've all been trying to talk it up, but I think Joy just hit the nail on the head there with the 3 formats. And obviously, the Test match is what we talked about last. But let's come back to that first format, which is what started things off for him, the T20 format. And he's got a point or two to prove because he's leading the side, leading from the front. Of course, when he comes with bat in hand, they will be chasing. And remember, both teams are unchanged, so we're not going to dwell on this too long. Just to remind you of the fact that it's the bowlers who will be in focus right now to make sure that the Bangladeshis are kept down to some sort of a manageable total. But of course, Rohit Sharma, captain of Bangladesh, Mahmudullah, captain of, Rohit Sharma, captain of India, Mahmudullah, captain of Bangladesh, and all of you, captain of your respective teams, to make sure you select them for your My 11 Circle team. And that's what you get onto the website. Simply choose the game, today's game, the second T20I at Rajkot. And Dada, a very special all-rounder in many senses. Now he's truly an all-rounder. Dada ka vada, 3 times the amount of cash. And speaking of all-rounders, I think that's the question we are putting today. We asked about captains last time and you were unanimous about having Rohit Sharma as captain. Today, I think definitely we want him as captain. What a way to celebrate 100 T20 internationals. Yeah. But who's the all-rounder you'd want in your side? And, you know, you can obviously have more than one, but minimum of 1 all-rounder from both the teams. Pick 1 all-rounder.
You know,
I mean, if Shakib was playing, obviously it'd be a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'll stick my neck out because I don't think, I mean, you'd think like Shivam Dube, it's a good chance for Shivam Dube, but I just feel he bats a bit low in the order. I'm going to go today for some reason with Kunal Pandya because I feel this pitch is it's a rock-hard pitch. I don't think any bowler is going to have too good a time out here. So every bowler will go. Hopefully, whoever is trying to chance their arm will get a couple of wickets. And I believe Kunal will bat earlier than Shivam, and that's their best opportunity.
Okay, so I think Zahir seems to be in agreement with that.
Yeah. No.
So we'll stick to let's get to the Bangladesh playing 11 and we'll get this in. This is what it is. And Mahmudullah, Mushfiqur Rahim, I think, is always going to be key because remember, Bangladesh have been asked to bat first by Rohit Sharma, and I think this is going to be the true test of them. The difference from the previous game is last time they knew not a huge total to chase. They knew what they were up against, perhaps a bit of dew, but this time around, just like with India, the onus is going to be on them, that top order.
I think setting targets is a different game altogether. And I think the crucial man out here, frankly, is Shomo Sarkar, because he's been taking the role of the aggressor. See, Mushfiqur will bat according to the situation. He'll be expected to bat deep if wickets fall. But they'll be telling Shomo Sarkar and Liton Das, go and chance your arm. This is probably a 200 wicket. We need to be scoring at 12-13 in the first 6 overs. So expect fireworks up front, and they said if you get out, it's not a problem. Lose a couple of wickets is not an issue. We have batsmen to follow. Mushfiqur will play it steady. Mahmudullah will play it steady, but go hard up front. That's what I believe will happen.
So I think that's going to be the way, and from obviously from the Indian bowling perspective, there's going to be in the limelight right now to know that the onus is on them to set up the game for the second half.
I think yes, the toss with that regard was a crucial toss. I think Rohit Sharma, you could see that the focus, determination was there to win the toss because it's a high pressure game, and I think since the game is in Rajkot, that puts extra pressure as well. So you would want to be in that comfort zone of knowing what you are going after. As far as bowling is concerned, it's important that that you have a clarity in terms of planning. Bangladesh will be upbeat now, for coming from that on the back of that last win. So that's something which bowlers will have to deal with. I'm expecting Shivam Dube to have a bit more of a role in this innings because not sure how much help wicket will provide to the spinners. So that means your third seam option is going to be a vital one, and possibly that's where that last over which Rohit Sharma gave in the previous match to Shivam Dube is going to come handy. Maybe he just wanted to have a look at that stage and see whether I can bank on this bowler or no. So yes, so I think Shivam Dube should be able to play a bit more of a part with the ball in hand. Apart from that, I was very impressed with Chahal. I think he has shown tremendous form with the ball. So that's something which he'll have to continue with if they have to restrict Bangladesh in today's match.
Yeah, I think the captain is well aware of it. Captains do have to admit it that if you would have won the toss, he would have bowled first as well. But let's hear Mahmudullah's views ahead of this second game.
If you consider the recent whatever is going on in the Bangladesh cricket, I think a series win will be a big boost for Bangladesh cricket and also a big boost for Bangladesh cricket team. And hopefully, as I've mentioned, that tomorrow we have to play good cricket to beat India team, because we know that they are a very good side in their home soil and across all over the world. So we have to be on our top from the first ball.
Yeah, I think he's well aware of what he needs to do, what his team needs to do. He hasn't had much of a role to play with the way he bats, but I think, as you said, Shomo Sarkar and the top order will be key.
Yeah, and
Naeem, the newcomer.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be kamikaze. They will go hard because they have less to lose than India has. If India loses, this is a disaster. If Bangladesh loses it, well, they tried hard, and without Shakib and this thing, they've come.
And it's 1-1 going into now.
Yeah, so that's the advantage they have. The disadvantage they have is this is the kind of track where you love to know how much you're chasing. So that's the minus point out there. But I think one very interesting point he said and made out there was talking about the fact that Bangladesh cricketers clearly want to show that no matter what problem they have with the board, they don't want it to impact their performance on the field. And that's a great message he's sending out there. So he's saying, what is he saying? He's saying that, look, it's important for us to do well because so that people have that impression that no matter what problems we have with the board, we are never going to give up performing for Bangladesh. And I think that's a great message. He said it very positively. I'm beginning to like Mahmudullah as a captain because he's a very balanced, calm person, and I think he brings calmness. This is a very young side. There are lots of 3-4 very good youngsters coming in. That golden age of Bangladesh cricket, literally only Mushfiqur is literally left out that golden age. Tamim is not there. Mashrafe is not there. Shakib is not there. So hopefully that these young guys, I think he's a good captain to have for them.
Yeah, he's always been that. He always had that temperament, leadership. But one of the factors we talked about, and we talked about in the last game, one of course is setting totals. We're not worrying about that today because India are chasing. But whether you bat first or whether you bat second, if you have some issues at the top of the order, you need to address it. And that's one of the things that we talked about is the approach at the top of the order. Yes, you mentioned in the last game, they need a bit of more power. But how much of it is required up front?
Well, I mean, on paper, when you see that, that power is there, you have to, you have people with ability at that stage, but what you need is someone experienced, and Rohit Sharma also, if you see, has been giving emphasis on that, this side is not an experienced side. So you need some experienced campaigner to be at that stage, and when you don't have that, you have to just kind of alter your thought process, your approach a little bit, and that's what I was trying to say with that. When you have experience at the top, Shikhar, Rohit, and Shreyas for that matter, can have that impact. KL Rahul is also there. So those four guys, I think, need to take more responsibility and look to cover up or look to negate that factor which might happen later in the innings. Those 10-15 runs, you should look to cover it up front. You've seen it with Bangladesh approach, even on that track, which was not easy to bat on with the older ball. They took their chances, and that's something which you will see if the score is on the higher side today. And the advantage of batting second is that the game decides how you're going to play. So that thought process becomes easy. When you are chasing 200, you're not going to go out there and keep defending the deliveries. You will take shorter time than what you usually take. So that is something which a lot of modern day cricketers are finding comfort in. I think batting first, you have to make the call. You have to understand that and then press the button there. So that is something which is
because I hear exactly what you're saying. We thought we'd illustrate it with some numbers, and we're trying to compare the run rate chasing in the power play, batting first versus batting second, and look at the differential for India. It's the lowest differential between the two teams. For West Indies, Sri Lanka and Pakistan, it's skewed towards batting second, so they chase harder than they set. With all the other teams, they actually have a positive net run rate or run rate in that first 6 overs, batting first as opposed to batting second. For India, it's 50-50 in a sense. Now, what's the first thing that you get from this, Joy?
The two things come out. One is that obviously whenever you look at that, the one factor that you're not seeing out here is how well are my bowlers performing. Because see, batting second, whatever run rate you see, if somebody scored 120, I can bat at 6.5 and win a match. So if my bowling attack is very good, then batting second, normally my numbers will drop. So that's one of the factors that influence batting first and batting second. The second number that influences it is how much power, how much do you think is a good total, which is again dependent on two things. One is the power of your batting side. Second is the kind of tracks you're batting on. So, what kind of tracks you'll get in Sri Lanka, you may not get the kind of runs that you might get in a, absolute flat track in, say, Rajkot, So those factors also play a part, but I think the only thing that's interesting for me is that India does not seem to have a very sure plan of how much they want to end up on. I think the other teams who have played this format slightly more seem to be having a better plan of how they're doing that. Maybe India's not perfectly happy with how they're delivering that, and that's why, mind you, I'm saying all that, this team is still ranked second in T20 international in terms of their rankings. They're just 4 points behind.
Fifth.
Fifth at this point, but their winning rate is quite high. It's still hugely high, So that's my only problem, that I don't think it's as representative as you would believe it to be. But it's an interesting stat to say how much do you set as target.
Yeah, that fifth rank is one of those little hidden stats that were talked about at the start of the series, but Rohit Sharma also mentioned at the start that
yes, what were you, 1 second, third, fifth?
Yeah, what was that? Second, no, fourth. मुझे पता है fourth ही है, fifth है. I've done my homework before coming, but it's something that's going to go up. So anyway, but the fact is that with these numbers, today India batting second, so as you said, it's going to be dictated by what Bangladesh does. If they make 190, then India will have to come hard.
I think batting first, the approach really matters. Because you are making the play, and that is something which Bangladesh now is in this particular game. Indian team need not worry about it, because the total is going to decide how you're going to approach the chase. I think as far as batting first Bangladesh is concerned, and on this track, if they are able to get somewhere around, if India is able to restrict them to 170, I think that total will be a good total to chase on this kind of track, because we all know what kind of surface Rajkot can offer, and we're just kind of doing the presumptions here. But I think whatever I've seen so far with the shine on the track and etc., etc., it gives you that feeling that, you know, even if there are a little bit of cracks, those cracks are not going to really come into play. And if you really bat well, any total is possible on this. And if you're chasing the total, any total is also gettable.
Yep.
So that's something which we'll have to wait and see.
We've seen so far, both teams who have batted here first in Rajkot so far in T20 internationals have scored 190 plus. So
which sort of sets up the score for you, as it were. But that's interesting. The other thing is, I think Shivam Dule, one, will definitely bowl for the reason that he's saying that, you know, fast bowlers may have a little bit, because spinners might be under a bit of pressure. The second is, I think Rohit will just want to, if things go as normally things go in Rajkot, you just want to shuffle the bowlers around enough so that nobody settles against you and sort of lines you up to hit you, you know. So you'll get an over here and over there, just not allowing the batsman to settle with one bowler.
Yikes. So Shivam Dube versus Krunal Pandya? My 11 circle team, should I?
I'd say, yeah. It's just that I feel Kunal
I was only queuing you for your joy factor question. Okay. So that while you're doing that, I can do my change.
Absolutely. Joy factor question here today. Current affairs this time. Very, very current. And it's a question. If Hashim Amla needed 40, Belinda Clark 41, Virat Kohli 53, which two Indians needed 48 and more recently 51 innings? And what is the record about? I mean, this is something that's happened over the last couple of days, at least one part of it.
That's a lot of numbers in there. A lot of numbers for you to think about. But that's what we do. We think of numbers here. And even before we finish the show, we've got one more big number to think about. Rajkot 190 plus both times in T20.